All right, let's get started. Thanks for joining us, everybody. My name is Bob Harford. I'm with Potomac Wave Consulting, and I lead the Fed Data Check team. Today's webinar is going to be on probably the most confusing field in FPDS&G, the Fair Opportunity Limited Sources field, and what code to put in that field under what circumstances. The agenda for today, I always go through some definitions. What are the meaning of the particular terms we're using? Like, for example, I'm going to use IDV and IDC a lot. I'm just going to define those. I'm sure you know them already, but just to be clear, going to provide the big picture, kind of big overview, 30,000 foot view as to why this field is so important. Some mega rules. We're going to go through there's going to be a lot in here. I'm going to try to keep it to an hour. I bet you I might leak over a little bit today, but we'll see. And there are 7 codes associated with the Fair Opportunity, 8 codes, excuse me, not 7, 8. 8 codes associated with the Fair Opportunity Limited Sources field in the FPDS&G Data Dictionary. Here's the data dictionary here. Fair Opportunity Limited Sources, it's data element 10R. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're going to go through the first 5 on that list there, and those all result in the award being counted as a not competed award. The next 2 result in the award being counted as a competed award. And then there's the last one, which also, I put that in a special category, and we'll see why. SS, sole source, results in the award also being counted as not competed. So 6 of these result in a not competed status, 2 in a competed status. A final twist, and that involves Part 8 BPA calls against a not competed single award BPA. And then we're going to do some review. Introductions as to more of who I am, who Potomac Wave is, what Fed Data Check is. I save that at the end. It's the same every time. You're more than please stay on, though, if you haven't heard that or would like to hear it again. If you'd like to also ask me questions offline or not in the course of the webinar, that would be a good opportunity there. Okay. Just checking our questions. We have someone else checking the questions. I'm looking at the chat. So, definitions. Brand name description. You're going to hear that term. That is a synonym for an award that restricted the available pool of vendors, the available people who can bid on it based on a brand name requirement. I had to have a Dell server as an example we look at. It couldn't be, for whatever reason, it couldn't be an HP server or it couldn't be a Toshiba server. It had to be a Dell server. This is also as a synonym, you'll hear the term peculiar to one manufacturer. Directed order. That's a delivery order or BPA call that is an 8A sole source award. So it's in the 8A program and directed to one 8A vendor. And it references an IDV that was 8A competed. Directed order. IDC, as distinct from an IDV. IDC is an indefinite delivery contract. This is a subset of IDVs. An IDC is one type of an IDV. And there are actually 3 different types of IDCs. The most famous one, of course, is IDIQ, but there's also indefinite delivery requirements, indefinite delivery, definite quantity. So those 3 different types of IDCs, of course, are defined in FPDS&G data element 6D type of IDC. Okay, so IDCs are a subset of IDV. IDV, indefinite delivery vehicle. There are 5 of those, as defined in 12A data element 12A, type of IDV, GWAC, IDC, FSS, BOA, and BPA. FOLS, fair opportunity limited sources got a lot to type out in these slides. So at times I just shorten that to FOLS. Limiting sources, you hear that term. That's also in the FAR. I came up with my own synonym for that called a funnel. But the definition there is the number of vendors who are associated with the referenced IDV, the multiple award IDV, is larger than the number of sources who are allowed to bid on the order call. So you could have a full and open competition with no set aside and a multiple award Part 8 BPA with, let's say, 30 vendors on the vehicle. And you could set up a small business set aside, and only the small business vendors on that vehicle, let's say 10 of them, would then be eligible to bid on that order call. The slides are available for download. Yes, the slides are available for download. You can see them in your handout section on your GoToWebinar controls. And I also email them to you after the webinar. I'll email them to you later today. All right, the big picture. We're talking about data element 10R, fair opportunity limited sources, and the FPDS&G data dictionary. By the way, how do you get to the data dictionary? You go to https://www.fpds.gov. Don't log in. That's the key. Don't log in. Go to worksite. And then if you scroll down on the left, you'll see the version 1.5 data dictionary. That's the latest one. Okay, the first thing, fair opportunity limited sources only doesn't apply to every type of contract action. For example, it doesn't apply to definitive contract actions, DCAs. And it also doesn't apply to every order or call. It is not applicable to delivery orders against single award IDCs. So you can see that in the data dictionary here. Fair opportunity limited sources, if I come down to the requirement state, if it's a delivery order referencing a federal supply schedule, a GWAC, or a multiple award IDC, then it's going to have to be filled in. But if it's a delivery order referencing a single award IDC, there's only one vendor who could possibly bid on the order. It's left blank. You can't fill it in. Now, a curiosity, which is going to be in that final twist, is going to be, if you look at if we pull back this data dictionary, so you fill it in if it's referencing a multiple award IDC here, required. You don't if it's a single award IDC. Part 8 BPA call, it's required. The inconsistency there is you can't have a Part 8 BPA that's a single award, and we'll take a look at an example of that. So if it's left blank for a delivery order against a single award IDC, why isn't it also left blank for a Part 8 BPA call against a single award Part 8 BPA? I think it should be, but it's not. Okay. All right. So only a limited number of, we're only talking about a limited number of stuff, limited number of contract action reports. Conceptually, from a logical standpoint, when determining whether an order or call was competed, it's a two-step process. First, was the IDV competed? Let's say yes. Step 2, was the order call competed? Let's say yes. And if 1 and 2 are competed, then the order call is competed. So if you have 40 people on the Part 8 BPA, and then you, due to, say, urgency, you grab the first vendor you can get on the phone to fix a plumbing problem, and that vendor gets that call, that BPA call. Well, that wasn't a competed award. So in that case, yes, the Part 8 BPA was competed, but since due to an urgent situation, the BPA call was not, then then you have a not competed award. So it's got to be satisfied both, a two-step process. But interestingly, in the land of FPDS&G, that's not how it works. As long as step 2 is coded as competed, then the order or call is counted as competed. All right, let's take a look at an example on that. I'm going to have to come out of that. I'm going to copy this. We'll come out to FPDS&G. I'll just show you this example. Feel free to come up with comments too. If you want to raise your hand, I'll keep an eye on this. All right, let's see here. Okay, look at this. If you look at this award here, as a recent, that's a while ago actually. Dell Computer Corporation, ADP, so they bought some sort of computer hardware. Now the IDV was not competed. There was only one source on the, now we can look at that IDV, but the IDV, it clearly is showing that the upstream IDV was not competed right here. But by mistake, the user in this example put in fair opportunity given in this field here. Therefore, this order counts as competed. We'll go through some examples where you can prove that, but that's the key concept. It's whatever, when they count, I don't want to go through it right now because we've got a lot to get through, but you can also verify that yourself. Well, let's do it. I don't want to do it right now. I will log in and show you how we can prove that. We should be able to prove that. We'll log into FPDS&G. I'm going to go to Standard Reports. I'm going to go to How, and I'm going to go to the Competition Report. And I will plug in the dates for this, when this award was made. I will come down and I'll get the department, which was 1500, agency 1501. That's a Justice Award. And we'll put in the contracting office. So we're kind of restricted in here to pretty example. Let's see if we can figure out where that $1,500 got put based on the results of this report. Look at that. Whew, I'm glad this came out. So this is kind of an interesting, not interesting, it is a key concept. Did you compete the IDV? No, only Dell could compete on the IDV. Was it other than full and open comp? Only one source. This is obviously only Dell is the vendor who could bid on this award. That's not a competed situation. But since fair opportunity was put in here instead of one, ONE, miscode right here, FPDS&G only looks at this field on delivery orders against multiple award, whatever this one is. Therefore, it put the $1,500 in the competed column. Oop, got it. Went away. Doggone it. hopefully you saw that before that. Oh, there it is. There's the $1,500 right there in the computed column. So key concept there. Okay. Logically, it's a two-step process. The IDV competed, the order call competed. Now you get competition credit. Not how it works. Only step two is what counts in the context of this webinar, in the context of the awards we're talking about. The next big picture, the last one here, 8A credit. So you exercise the authority. It came in 2010, if I'm not mistaken, the Small Business Act, that you're going to put in a order against a federal supply schedule, and you're going to go through the 8A program, through an 8A competition. The only way you're going to do that is if in the fair opportunity limited sources field, again, I'm only talking about these types of contract actions up here. I'm not talking about definitive contract actions or purchase orders. So here's the context here. So within that context, the only way you're going to get 8A credit is if you put CSA in the fair opportunity limited sources field for competitive set-aside. Then that ungrays out the type of set-aside field, and you would put competitive set-aside in there. Another way to get 8A credit is if you did an 8A sole source award, that directed order in our definitions. So you go to NASA Soup, the vendor is part of the 8A STARS program. You make a directed order towards a particular 8A vendor. In the fair opportunity limited sources field, you would put SS, sole source. And we have a slide on that, and we're going to review it in detail. That opens up the type of set-aside field, and you would put 8A sole source in the type of set-aside field. So you have to do an interaction between the fair opportunity limited sources and the type of set-aside field to get 8A credit.
Comment from Terry.
Okay. 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 Terry, I'm going to have to get to you offline there a little later. I'm not quite following the question. Maybe I can unmute you and you can, let's do that. Terry, can you hear me? Terry? Oh, wait a minute, I'm muted. Doggone it.
Can you hear me now?
Terry, yeah, I can hear you now. Doggone it, I muted myself. Go ahead. What?
That's okay. I muted myself too. Sorry.
Okay.
I think I might be asking the same thing as what you were saying. So if the contract is written against the GSA contract, right?
Right.
In your previous slide, you just had the FPDSNG record up.
Okay.
If
This one here?
Right. So
yep.
if it's written against, if the IDV that it's referencing is the solicitation procedures was subject to fair opportunity given, right? So what you're saying is if that's the case, then it should be competition. It should not be only one source of it, correct?
Well, yeah, the odd thing is about this, maybe they miscoded the, no,
because
why did they code this as, yeah.
All of the GSA awards are competed, from what I understand, unless they're
Miscoded.
I mean, like anything on the GSA, the GSA contracts are competed to get, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, this one is saying only one source. Oh. Sorry, I don't know what that was. Let me try something here.
Wow.
Okay. All right. I don't know. I was getting some feedback, but hopefully that's
Okay.
better now. So
this
this
is a GSA contract that just has one on it.
right. So it came through as not competed.
Okay.
And since this field was open and they put fair opportunity given mistakenly, we'll look at some more examples on that. Yeah, that's an old, very old FSS. It makes me wonder whether it was miscoded or not, but that's how
what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my question. That was
okay.
Sorry.
No, that's good. We like comments, so please raise your hand and comment on that. It makes it much more interesting, I think, rather than me talking the whole time. Okay, the 5 mega rules. If the award was incidentally, I'm really emphasizing order calls. You could also extend this discussion to Part 8 BPAs and their relation to the federal supply schedule, but it's it's complex enough. If you competed the order call, then you got 2 choices in the fair opportunity limited sources field. Fair opportunity given, or competitive set aside. If the award was competed and the sources were limited relative to the referenced IDV, then you have 1 choice, competitive set aside. So so you're referencing a federal supply schedule and you do a competed hub zone set aside, boom, CSA. You only have 1 choice. If the award was not competed and it was an 8A sole source, one of those directed orders, you have 1 choice there, sole source, SS. All right, 4th rule, never use FOO, follow-on action following competitive initial action. Never use it. Forget you ever saw it. Okay, that's not true. But this is the one that really fouls people up. And we're going to look at some examples where it actually was the appropriate thing to do. But I put here, only if you're being dragged kicking and screaming into that rare situation where an incumbent vendor, someone currently doing work for you, had to be given a sole source, not competitive award for reasons of economy and efficiency because it was related to the work they're currently doing for you. It's very rare. Education has done some that we're going to look at. But yeah, I think if you just, 99% of the time, if you just forget you saw this one, you'd be better off. I put in a 5th one. For BPA calls against not competed single award Part A BPAs, match up the fair opportunity and limited sources value. So if you're referencing a single award BPA, just put the same value in fair opportunity that's on the BPA. All right, let's get into it now. The first one up, urgency, and I'm glad we have that because we have an expert on urgency on with us now.
Hello.
Oh, hey, Chuck.
Hey.
And I'm trying to unmute Beverly. Hopefully she will unmute herself. But if you look at the reference here, let's click out to the reference 16505 B2I. Urgent. Here it is here. The agency need for supplies of service is so urgent that providing fair opportunity would result in unacceptable delays. That's the authority you have in the FAR. Okay, it's not impossible, but so I'm going to break this into, okay, when do you not use that code, and when should you use it? So yeah, here's some examples where you should not use that code. And I'm going to open up, maybe I can do this by opening up. Let's see. If I can go here. Oh, boy. What did I do? I did something. Locked up right now. Okay, let's see. All right. let me do this. Let me go out to this one. I'm going to copy all of this, actually. Man, I am messed up. Sorry, give me 1 second here. I'm trying to start up one other program here. I'm having a little trouble with my laptop, but we're going to go look at some examples of urgency awards that were not actually urgent awards, and then look at one that was. Whew, I got to get a faster laptop. Here we go. Finally. Okay. So let's look at this one here, where they coded in urgent and they received more than one offer. So this is the first of the 5 not computed codes we're looking at. Waiting on NPDS&G here. All right, here we go. Delivery order against referencing a federal supply schedule. I come down to the competition section here in blue. I see FSS and I see urgency right here. And the number of offers, 3. Beverly, if you can, or Chuck, another panelist on the line. That doesn't make much sense to me. Beverly, you're on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Chuck.
Okay.
I mean, I suppose you could, you could not fulfill, maybe it's above the SAT, right? And you needed to post it on eBuy to make it official, but you did have 2 people you could get on the phone and you got them both to bid on it. So you could come up with scenarios in which it was urgency, therefore you didn't notify the requisite number of vendors, therefore was not competed, but it seems far-fetched, right? Or does anyone else, maybe not everyone agrees with me?
It depends on what the issue is. For let's say it's the ones I'm familiar with are ships repair or aircraft repair. For NOAA, you could have an urgent and compelling repair where there are 2 or more sources available in the region and where the ship or the airplane is based.
Okay.
And if they could get you a quote back within, 24 hours or the same day, I don't see why you couldn't entertain competition. But in most cases, if it's an emergency, it's above and it's something major, then it's above the threshold to where you have to advertise. Urgent and compelling, you can get around having to advertise because it's urgent and compelling, but I don't know of any reason where it precludes you from getting competition if competition is immediately available.
Okay. All right, let's look at the next example. So this is one, let's see on this one, here. This is one that we also think is, I also think is, this one is really wrong. But let's see if anyone else has. All right, Beverly, glad I could have you on now. Okay, so here's one. Let's go down to the competition section again. Urgency, only one offer. Okay, so now it's looking aircraft part and auxiliary equipment manufacturing. So on the surface here, this one looks pretty good. This one looks like it could be an urgent situation, maybe an aircraft, like you were talking about, Chuck, a ship or an aircraft needed repair quickly to keep going on its mission. But here's what I say makes this one, that urgency code wrong. And that is the period of performance is a base year and 2 option years. If that were a definitive contract and not a delivery order, then per this far here, that would be wrong. You can't do an urgency on a definitive contract unless you get, and it's for longer than 1 year unless the head of agency approves it. I don't think they would, so extremely rare. But any comments on that one? Let me see if I got anyone else raising their hand too. If I lost my audience. Nope, here it is. Yeah, that's questions. Audience. Click over here. If anyone wants to raise their hand and comment on that. Let's go back and look at it. Okay, Beverly.
Did you see what the purpose of that was?
Atlantic Diving Supply Incorporated in Virginia Beach. Clothing, other apparel and accessories. That's kind of odd. I mean,
For a panel assembly?
apparel, it looks like. Other apparel. So it looks like clothing. And then it says tactile panel assemblies. Yeah, so something looks off there. Aircraft part.
Is it safety clothing?
Could be. Yeah.
Practical panel assemblies are generally like Kevlar blankets or soundproofing.
Okay. But what's the point here? Boy, I tell you, you had to have urgent. It was that, you got a base year and 2 option years. Yeah. So best practice, I will assert based on the FAR rules related to definitive contracting and based on conversations I've had with other federal experts. Keep those urgencies to less than 1 year. All right, now we got a good one. Wait a minute. I'm going to come back to my notepad. Now here's one that is an excellent use of urgency. So again, they're ordering against the federal supply schedule. So generally speaking, let's put it on eBuy. Or if it's below the set, survey 3 people, and you all know the rules there. But on this one, look at this: emergency fire system service and repair for the NOAA ship. That sounds on the Okeanos Explorer. Beverly, I'm glad you're on the line. Can you walk us through the urgency rationale behind this one?
Absolutely. It's a 3-zone fire system installed on the ship, and the 2 of the zones were in constant alarm mode. The ship was on the phone with Siemens trying to troubleshoot it, and Siemens was unable to troubleshoot it over the phone. They tagged out the system, which effectively left them with no fire system on the ship at all. So we had to find someone local to Honolulu to urgently effect the repair, who was also a Siemens distributor. So I got on GSA, did a quick search, and Hiller came up. I called them. They had capacity. We immediately issued the verbal and moved out.
So you issued a verbal?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's,
it's life or safety.
Okay,
That's what draws urgency. And if you're not willing to issue a notice to proceed for it, then you shouldn't be coding it as urgent.
okay. Makes sense to me, obviously. So yeah, you go, you go through some of these things, or at least I'm not a federal contracting official. I'm a data computer guy, but and one of the things that we're charged with is monitoring agencies' competition rate, make sure that that's moving in the right direction. The higher, the better. But in this case, as Beverly just laid out, that's not really true. I mean, in some cases, the smart thing to do and the appropriate thing to do is not compete the award. In a life safety or a life situation there. So the authority's in there. Yeah, the authority in the FAR is there for a reason. So make full use of it. I don't have to tell people on this line there, but I know I was, what was I, they came up again on something, local area set-asides we were doing a while ago where a major disaster comes through, a hurricane. And it seems like that is and you can direct an award to a vendor in the impacted area. It seems like, intuitively to me, it seems like a great authority, but then outside of FEMA, it doesn't seem to be used that much based on when I was looking at it. Okay. All right, great. Thanks, Beverly. And if other people have used these authorities too in their contracting, I hope you raise your hand and give some background there too. And I might not get through the whole, we might have to break this up into 2 sessions, come back at it another bite.
What do you mean?
Okay. Not competed option number 2. We got 5 of these to go through. Only one source. So if you look at the FAR reference on this, only one awardee is capable of providing the supplies or service required at the level of quality required because the supplies or service ordered are unique or highly specialized. When do you not code 1? Let me go back here, and I'm going to go back and copy this out again so that I can get to the PIDs. Okay. Obviously, you don't code 1 if you get more than one offer on the BPA or call. That would be a miscode. If someone wants to explain how that, we looked at urgency, maybe you can get more than one offer. It seems unlikely, but I suppose it's possible. But on 1, we just said it, only one vendor was uniquely qualified for it. So here we have an order. If I come down to the competition section, I have only one source, but they got 8 offers. That doesn't add up to me. So you did get more than one offer. Obviously, they felt they could do the job. Otherwise, they wouldn't have responded to the solicitation. So that would be a mismatch there. And the other one you see on this where it's miscoded is, and this is a significant one, is they really meant to code an 8A sole source award. They say it's an 8A award in the description. They don't code it in the competition section. Yeah, it was only one source because it was an 8A sole source award, but that's not what that means. This means only one source is, there's only one capable of doing it. For an 8A sole source award, you put SS, sole source, and then you set the set aside to 8A sole source. This way it's miscoded and they will not get 8A credit for the award. All right, let's look at one that is properly done. And this one I could speak to. Only one source. So what was that definition again? If you look at it. Only one awardee is capable of providing the supplies or services. Only one people in the world, let's say that, or within a reasonable availability. What is an example of that? The example of that, I did happen to know of this one. Darla, if you have a comment, Darla, I've unmuted you. I don't know if you raised. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Okay. Got it. Hey, so this is a Fed Data Check Award. This is for us, Potomac Wave Consulting, for our Fed Data Check product. And they put down only one source. You know, honestly, a few people have done that. At least two. And we're the only ones we know of who do what we do. Okay, slideshow from current slide. Okay, so we saw one there where they got more than one offer. Boy, how could there be only one source capable of doing the service in that case? They mistook an 8A award, sole source. They put down one. They should have put down SS. And, you know, if it really is a unique situation, you know, there are not too many people downloading FPDS&G data and running it through data checks and merging it with SAM and SBA data. So right now we're kind of it. So we would the awards, several of the awards to us have been designated as only one source available. All right, here's the one that really messes people up. Don't use it. I think if you can, I bet you many people can go through their entire career in federal contracting and never use it. I'm going to copy this. Okay. The order must be issued on a sole source basis this is FOO, follow-on action following competitive initial action. The order must be issued on a sole source basis in the interest of economy and efficiency because it is a logical follow-on to an order, not an IDV, an order already issued under the contract, provided that all awardees were given a fair opportunity to be considered for the original order. All right, so when do you not code FOO? Well, the first time is if you got more than one offer. It could not possibly be an FOO because an FOO is a sole source basis. I'm not going to go through that, but if you're putting down, you got 5 offers, then you're putting down FOO, it's impossible. Now here's another interesting one that you know that they didn't get it. If it's the vendor's first delivery order or BPA call with that department, it could not possibly be an FOO. Let's look at an example of that. Wait a minute. I want to do this. Okay. So here's GBD2 joint venture. They have 2 awards, both of them with the Veterans Affairs. One's an IDC and one's an order. So they only have one order. They got the IDC, and then they did win an order. They just started out FY18. Let's look at view. Come down to the competition section. Follow-on action following competitive initial action. That's impossible. The order must be issued on a sole source basis in the interest of economy and efficiency because it is a logical follow-on to an order already issued. Well, they only have one order. So that's wrong. So what's going on here is if the IDC, FSS, GWAC, or Part 8 BPA was competed, then that, of course, means all the downstream orders calls are follow-on actions following competitive initial actions. No. That's a common misinterpretation of what FOO means. It's somewhat flows from the language, but that's the wrong thinking. Okay, I did talk to someone. Department of Education has made a significant, some of their large awards are currently follow-on actions following competitive initial actions. I wasn't able, if anyone here is from education who's familiar with these, I did talk to them. Okay, let's look at it. But I did talk to the that should be the right one right there. Yep, debt collection services. So the Department of Education, do we have anyone from education? If you could raise your hand. Okay, so they awarded 5 of these awards to private collection agency performs collection and administrative resolution activities on debts resulting from non-payment of student loans. So you can imagine the Department of Education, how big they are now in the student loan area. You know, all the IT systems that these people have to get trained on, I can imagine there's a ton of regulations involved in collecting on student debt and administering those payments. Huge, huge effort. They made all of these in 2009. They went for 5 years. A lot of people bid on it. 26 bids they got, and they selected 5 vendors to train up, get all the people trained on the regulations, get them tuned in with the IT systems. Big, big undertaking. Hundreds of millions of dollars on this one, as I recall. It's a huge, anyway, if it's not hundreds, it's a lot. So what they did was recently is they issued follow-on actions following after those initial awards to the same vendors. And here's one here. So this one went to Account Control Technology. This was the initial award that they won through a competitive process. And here's one that they were given, I don't know what the word, non-competitively awarded so that they could go for another couple of years. I think they've extended it out even farther than that. But this is a follow-on action following competitive initial action. It was just too much. It wasn't worth it to the government in terms of economy and efficiency to go through a whole nother round of competition, go through the incredible training and everything else involved in the regulations involved in the debt collection. So they said, hey, look, we have 5 good people working on this now. We're going to go for another number of years with the 5 we have in place, the 5 vendors we have in place. If one of them isn't performing, we could terminate them and go, you know, have the other 4 pick up the slack. So that was a good decision on their part. Again, effective use of FAR authority. Any questions or comments so far? Lydia, I have Lydia from GSA on, who's I'm going to say is one of the experts in this area. Lydia, please comment if I want to add or correct something I'm saying. Okay. FOO. I'm going to say, based on my experience going through this over the years, 95% of the time, FOO is miscoded. It should just be fair opportunity given, FAR. Not in every case like we just saw here. All right, minimum guarantee. Not competed number 4. We're going to get through the first 5, and I'm going to have to come back another time and set this up. Sorry, there's a lot here, but hopefully you've gotten something out of this. We'll go through the first 5, and then we got about another hour. We'll set up in a couple weeks. Minimum guarantee. This is a good one. Here's a FAR reference. The contract must require the government to order and the contractor to furnish at least a stated minimum quantity of supplies and services. That's on a IDC, definite quantity contracts. And here's the justification for minimum guarantee. It is necessary to place an order to satisfy a minimum guarantee. So you do have that authority to give a non-competitive award to a vendor to meet that minimum guarantee on the IDC. You can't have a minimum guaranteed justification for a not competed order in the fair opportunity limited sources field if you got more than one offer. Let's go look at that. Okay. Should be this one here. I do think it's, it does take time to look at these examples, but unless, if you're just talking verbiage and you don't have actual examples, to me, it's not very good. So I guess you can send a comment if that's not, if you feel I'm overdoing it. But. All right, so here we go. Dell server for information technology department. Minimum guarantee. That meant some vendor, who was it? Counter Trade Products had an ID, well, it's NASA. First of all, it's NASA soup. I mean, so they got two things wrong there. How do you, a minimum guarantee means you're sole sourcing it to a vendor who has an IDC, and they either haven't gotten any awards or they haven't gotten enough. So two offers there doesn't make sense. Feel free to comment if you feel that that's too general of a statement. Okay, the next one is, and this is a key one on a minimum guarantee. They're only applicable to IDCs. So if your department set up an indefinite delivery contract, then Department X, Department Interior, Department GSA Public Building Service, NOAA, okay, you're responsible for making sure the vendor gets the minimum guaranteed on the IDC contract. But there's no such requirement going against the federal supply schedule or a GWAC or Part 8 BPA that references a federal supply schedule. Doesn't make sense. So let's look at an example where they did that. Waiting. Come on. Here we go. Executive Office of the President. Ordering against a federal supply schedule. Minimum guarantee. That doesn't, and they got two offers too. So that, when you're using those schedules, GWACs, you're not responsible for making sure the vendor gets a minimum amount of orders. That's on the GWAC side. It's not on you, the orderer side. So here's the best quote on this. And this is, I'm not going to quote her, but she's an expert person at Interior involved in policy oversight. The minimum guarantee, in my mind, should only be used at the end of the period if a vendor was never awarded an order. And just to show you what one would look like there. Okay. Why that's taking. And they did a nice thing here, Department of Interior. Actually, this is in the Acquisition Service Directorate, so you would think this is one of their premier acquisition areas. Okay, the FPDS&G is slowing up on me, but they put IDIQ minimum in the description, which I thought was a great idea. So if you come down here they put minimum guarantee. Okay, they got one offer. That looks good. It's against an IDC. That looks good. And they put right in the description requirement IDIQ minimum. So that's a good way to handle that. Again, using the full authority in the FAR. All right, I'm going to go through one more, and that's it. I didn't get too many poll questions here either. I have a poll one that we can do. Let's see. We'll get one right after this. We'll end up with a poll question. OSA, other statutory authority. This will be the last one. Take about another 5-10 minutes and we'll wrap it up here. For orders exceeding the simplified acquisition threshold, a statute expressly authorizes or requires the purchase be made from a specified source. Okay, when I'm going through that examples, when do you not use it? When do you use it? When do you not use it? When do you not use it? Don't use it if you made an 8A sole source award. And you use an OSA instead of SS. Here's an example. All right. So they're ordering against a federal supply schedule. I come down to the competition section. I've seen other statutory authority. Nothing wrong so far. I come up to the business program, business category. I do see SBA certified 8A program. It's making me wonder, the 8A program could have been, they don't have to win the award just because they're in the 8A program. Of course, they can win full and open. They can do all kinds of things. But I am seeing this weird other statutory authority. Boy, what other statute are they referring to? Are they referring to the SBA authority to make directed orders to an 8A person in the 8A STARS program? Well, they are. Look at this, right in the comment. Oasis 8A direct award. So they were fishing around for that SBA authority, the 8A program, and what they should have done is they should have put SS sole source here in the fair opportunity limited sources. Then go up to the type of set aside and make it an 8A sole source award. So you see that a lot. People referencing the Small Business Administration through this other statutory authority. The correct code is SS. All right, when should you use OSA? And the only example that I'm aware of is when you have an award where you get more than one offer, but there is a brand name description, a brand name restriction on the solicitation. Then you would put other statutory authority up here. Would be the correct one to do. And let's look at an example. And then we're going to do a poll, and then we're going to wrap it up. We're going to have to come back to it because we've got another hour to go on this. Okay, Chuck, if you're around, let me see if I can unmute Chuck on this one. Chuck, if you're around here, this is a NOAA one. All right.
I'm here. You hear me?
Yep. So we got an order against NASA Soup, Lime Computer Systems,
Yes?
Dell servers. So to me, that's saying, for whatever reason, NOAA said, look, you know, we're not going to look at HP. We're not going to look at Toshiba, Sam, you know, whoever else is out there making servers nowadays.
Right. Yeah, I just saw
9 offers. So you got maybe an offer from CDW, from Mystic, so plenty of offers out there, but all
Right.
those offers had to be for Dell servers.
Right. Yeah, I saw this morning. It came up on a report with a potential error, and I sent them an email to find out a little bit more about the nature of what was going on.
Okay.
Yeah, they're buying Dell servers off the SWEP contract, and they got 9 offers. So what was your question?
So I'm just saying this looks good to me. So you can't put fair opportunity given there, because the solicitation was used that FAR quote, peculiar to one manufacturer.
Right, exactly. Yeah, there are certain types of actions where you don't have access to the fair opportunity. It's grayed out.
Right. Well, I think you could put fair here. No, you could put fair here, but it would have been incorrect to do so. Because if you put a brand name restriction on an order or call,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
you got a code that is not competed.
Well, we
I'm
don't know
looking at-
that it was a brand name. Without
okay.
looking at the contract or the solicitation, we don't know that it was. It may be that the folks aren't real specific or careful about how they type up their requirements descriptions. So
Okay.
it could have been a technical description which was fair, and the person who was awarded the item offered them Dell servers. So it can't conclude from the requirement statement that they actually went out soliciting for Dell servers on a name brand basis.
You got it. Okay.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't do that without going back and looking at the solicitation or the award document itself. Because quite often the requirement statement that's placed there is a statement that reflects after the award.
I got you. All right. Well, let's say this. Presuming there was that brand name restriction in the solicitation, and it's
Yes,
coded correctly, because per FAR 63021, blah, 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 acquisitions that use a brand name description should not be counted as a competed award.
that's right. They're sole source.
Does not provide for competition regardless of the number of sources solicited. So if you
That's
did go
right.
out just for Dell servers and you said, okay, I want to bid from CDW, I want to bid from Lime Computers,
Right,
I'm going to get a bid from Best Buy down the street, you can go get 10 bids. Doesn't
right.
matter.
So my assumption, without looking back at any RFQ or solicitation or at the award document, is that it was competed among a number of resources that they had available to them. And the end result was they purchased Dell servers,
All right.
but
All
there's
right.
no indication that it was a sole source or a name brand or equal.
No, you're right. Well, there was just in that one description. Well, in terms of the indication is they put other statutory authority rather than fair opportunity given.
Right.
That's the indication. Okay.
Oh,
All
yeah,
right, hey,
yeah.
look, I'm over my time. I do want to do one poll question, and then that's it. And people can stay on to hear my, oh God, I want to find my poll question. And I cannot find it. Shoot. Okay. Wow. It's got to be here somewhere. No. Oh, there it is. Okay, here we go. I got it. One poll. Here's the poll. Launch. Have you ever used this distributing? Have you ever used other statutory authority? And if so, what's, it's so vague. What statute were you referring to? I do have a yes out there. I'd love to hear a comment from someone if we could wrap up with who said yes. This is the only one that I'm aware of is this FAR 63021C1I is that, they did have, there was a requirement for a brand name. I think I've heard it in relation to a radio, if I'm not mistaken, the story that over at Veterans Affairs or one of those areas, they had, they had a certain radio communication by a brand and they wanted to keep it to that radio maker. All right, let's close that. So about a few people out there did. If anyone wants to raise their hand and explain what other statutory authority they were referring to. No. Hey, look, we got about another half to go. We're going to go through, okay, those are the 5 things that were not competed. We're going to go through, okay, well, how do you code it so that you competed the award? Fair opportunity, competitive set aside. Then we're going to go through the sole source. That thing we keep talking about is those directed awards through the 8A program. And I go through a final twist. So a lot of complicated field. We didn't quite get through all of it. We got about through half of it. We'll pick up the other half in a couple of weeks.